Peugeot is famous for its small cars. For decades, they have been among the best the manufacturer makes, from the 205 back in the late 80s to the very popular 206, which I learnt to drive in, the 207, and then the more recent 208. Well, for the 2020s though, Peugeot have abandoned their naming convention and ditched the idea of going for a 209 and instead given us a brand new 208 instead. Now this new 208 is sharper, sleeker, posher, much posher, and in this video we'll find out if it is the small car to choose. But before that, give this video a grande likey and subscribey and bell buttony. Don't know why I said grande. Sounds a bit different, doesn't it? This 208 shares next to nothing with the car it replaces. It's dramatically different on the outside, not just our car's yellow paint, and totally changed on the inside. As is often the case these days, there's a choice of engines, including a fully electric model. And while there's no successor to the hot GTI model, you can add enough options to push the car to an eye-watering price. The one we've got here is £24,500. One reason for that is this is the top spec GT model. Cheaper models like the Active, Premium or Allure make much more sense, with every model benefiting from alloy wheels, air conditioning and a touchscreen infotainment system. For full specs, check out the Carbuyer website. So one thing that you don't get in the lower ranges are these funky digital dials. Now I don't know what you can see on camera, but we've got like a 3D effect going on. It just looks mega. It's like futuristic without being chintzy or overly complicated. Gives you all the information that you need, and it's not too distracting like you can find in setups in some rivals. One thing that has been carried over from the old car is the driving position. Now you get this low, small steering wheel, which makes the car feel quite pointy and sharp when you're driving it. But it feels quite weird to have to look over the top of the steering wheel to see the dials. And actually my driving position is more here, but I had to move it lower just so I could see the dial. So it's not going to be for everyone. Make sure you try before you buy. Now every version gets at least a 7-inch touchscreen with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. This one is a couple of inches bigger, but the system within it is pretty much the same as all the other versions. It's not the most responsive, got a bit of lag when you press some of the buttons. I mean, the screen is nice and clear, the graphics are all nice and sharp, but beware though, because the climate controls are hidden in there. But the build quality is good, like really good, like up there with the best in its class kind of good. There are really impressive amounts of soft touch finishes, and just the overall build quality just feels really, really nice, even if, you know, the swathes of piano black plastic might get scratches over time. I do like it. While most cars in this class have grown steadily over time, the same can't really be said for the 208, which makes it one of the smaller superminis on sale. While that works wonders for in-town manoeuvrability, it does make the car feel a bit small when you're sitting in the back. A Renault Clio and Volkswagen Polo are much better in this regard. That said, the 208 is now only available with 5 doors, which does help when clambering in the back or fitting a child seat. Space in the cabin has been really well thought out actually, considering the compact dimensions, with a large cubby under the central armrest, some cup holders and a smart-sized tray in front of the gear lever. Beware though, the glove box is small thanks to the position of the fuse box in right-hand drive cars. Boot space, we've got 311 litres, which is about on par for the Corsa in this class. It's bigger than the Fiesta, that's got 292, but not quite as big as the cavernous Clio. But one added bonus, if you go for the electric version of this, the E208, then you don't make any boot size compromises, which is nice. Oh, and if you fold down the rear seats, you've got just over 1,100 litres to play with. Peugeot is one of the few small car makers that refuses to drop diesel, so along with the petrol engines, like the one we've got in this car, and the electric motors in the E208, you can also buy a super frugal diesel. To be honest though, if you're covering so many miles that diesel is your top choice, you're probably better off looking at bigger, more accomplished cruisers from the class above. Now that isn't to say that this car is poor on long journeys, because on the contrary, it's quite quiet. Surprisingly adept on long motorway journeys, like the one I did this morning when I got up at 4:30 AM so that I could drive to Suffolk. Cheers guys. And like we said earlier, this smaller steering wheel does make the 208 feel quite darty and quite alert when you're driving it. I mean, I've got used to this now, and when you go back to driving a normal car, it feels like you're steering an old bin lid. Do you know what I mean? Quite big. But overall, the experience, I mean, doesn't feel as controlled as the Ford Fiesta. And also the stiffer suspension means that it can't quite rival the Clio for comfort. But I do like this 8-speed automatic gearbox. We found that the manual is just a bit vague and a bit rubbery, but this auto box is actually very sleek and very smooth. Oh, another thing I kind of love. Satisfying indicator sound. I could do a whole Carbuyer video on the different satisfying indicator noises. I like this one. Oh, engine is pretty good as well. Feels quite lively, which isn't surprising, I suppose, because we've got just under 130 horsepower in this one. It will do 0 to 62 in 8.7 seconds. But actually, we would recommend saving yourself a bit of money and going for the slightly less powerful 99 brake horsepower version, because that will do the same sprint in 9.9 seconds. Plus, you still get this auto box, should you want it, and the indicator noises. When you look at fuel economy and emissions, it further hammers the nail into the diesel's coffin. Now, our car will do 51 miles per gallon with CO2 emissions of 121 grams per kilometre, while that mid-range petrol engine improves things slightly to 56 miles per gallon and 112 grams per kilometre. The electric version will be the company car driver's choice thanks to the rock-bottom tax rates. It'll do just over 200 miles on a charge, and every version is eligible for the government's plug-in car grant as well. But anyway, that's enough of the stats. How about some deal makers and deal breakers for the Peugeot 208? This might be one of the smallest cars on sale, but the engine choice is excellent: petrol, diesel or electric. The striking exterior styling continues inside, with top-spec models getting big screens and 3D dials. Quality is really good too. While not the cheapest supermini to buy, all versions of the 208 are reasonably cost-efficient to run. The 208 is one of the smaller cars in this class, and that translates to cabin space. A Renault Clio is much roomier. The 208 isn't as comfortable as a Clio, nor as fun to drive as a Ford Fiesta. So there you have it, the latest Peugeot 208. It may not be pure, unbridled, super mini perfection, but it's still a very likeable car. It's not as spacious as a Renault Clio, not as good to drive as the Ford Fiesta, but it does everything you want a small car to do, and in some ways does it very well. Let's be honest. It's the most attractive one of the bunch, isn't it? Let us know what you think. Pop it in the comment box below. Don't comment on the trousers. If you like this video, then why not watch our review of the Renault Clio or our small cars playlist. Make sure you subscribe to the Carbuyer YouTube channel, and thank you for watching.